It had been a bitter disappointment for Raquel Rodriguez just a couple of weeks earlier at Payback, a night that was supposed to be the biggest moment of her career, yet it slipped away in a way that left fans and analysts alike questioning whether we had truly seen the best of Raquel on that stage. For young superstars, those major moments can sometimes overwhelm them, and the sheer weight of expectation can be enough to throw them off their rhythm, even if their talent and potential are undeniable. Raquel entered Payback carrying the hope of shocking the world, but inexperience and circumstances collided in a way that left her falling short. Yet, as Wade Barrett pointed out in commentary, that disappointment had context. It wasn't just that Raquel had a bad night. It was the fact that she was still battling the aftereffects of a knee injury caused by RHEA Ripley nearly a month and a half earlier. Ripley, cunning and ruthless, had targeted that knee again during their Payback clash, exploiting the weakness and forcing Raquel to fight on one leg against one of the most dominant champions WWE has seen in years. Even as Raquel declared herself 100% heading into the rematch on Raw, lingering doubts remained. Could her body truly hold up against the brutal onslaught of RHEA Ripley, or was she setting herself up for another heartbreak? What made this rivalry all the more compelling was the personal history between the two women. RHEA Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez were not just rivals. They were once best friends, training partners, and inseparable allies. They had traveled the roads together, trained side by side, and shared victories and failures, but that bond eventually shattered as both sought to carve their own legacies. Ripley, rarely one to feel threatened, had identified Raquel as a legitimate danger, someone who was not just another challenger to be bulldozed, but a competitor capable of standing toe-to-toe with her in power, strength, and stature. That was why RHEA had tried to weaken her before ever stepping into the ring, targeting the knee and forcing Raquel to fight uphill. The roots of this rivalry stretch all the way back to their NXT days, where Raquel had been the one to send Ripley packing from the brand. That victory had once defined Raquel as a force, but as Michael Cole reminded fans, that was over 2 years ago. Since then, RHEA Ripley had evolved into something far more dangerous, climbing multiple levels, becoming a brutal, sadistic, and calculating champion who thrived on intimidation and destruction. By contrast, Raquel had also grown, but whether she had grown enough to topple this version of Ripley was the burning question heading into Raw's main event. The stage was set. Raquel Rodriguez challenging RHEA Ripley for the Women's World Championship on Monday Night Raw, live in front of a packed arena. With Dominic Mysterio banned from ringside, the Judgment Day's biggest weapon was effectively neutralized, ensuring that this would be a one-on-one battle for the ages. Raquel entered with determination etched across her face, introduced as the proud challenger from Rio Grande Valley, Texas, while RHEA Ripley, flanked by her aura of menace, was presented as the dominant champion from Adelaide, South Australia. As the bell rang, Wade Barrett analyzed the keys to victory, insisting Raquel must lean on her strength and power, the only advantage she possessed over Ripley. Immediately, Raquel came out firing, sending a message with clotheslines that knocked RHEA off balance and forced her to regroup. RHEA, so used to overpowering her foes, suddenly found herself thrown around by a challenger who matched and even surpassed her in raw strength. A power slam from Raquel brought the first serious cover of the match, forcing Ripley to kick out at 2. For once, the champion looked vulnerable. The early minutes were all Raquel, as she locked in a crushing bear hug, squeezing the life out of Ripley and proving that intimidation was not going to play a factor. Raquel wasn't afraid. She wasn't backing down, and for Ripley, that was unusual territory. But Ripley, ever resourceful, changed momentum with a vicious headbutt, stunning Raquel and reminding everyone that she was more than just raw power. From there, RHEA began showcasing her versatility, soaring off the top rope with a missile dropkick, displaying agility and aerial skill that many overlook when discussing her dominance. This was Ripley digging deeper into her playbook, pulling out weapons she rarely needed to use because most opponents crumbled long before forcing her to diversify. Now, Ripley was blending brutality with athleticism, hitting a running knee, suplexes, and psychological pinfalls designed not just to hurt Raquel physically, but to break her spirit. As the match wore on, Ripley's strategy became clearer. survive Raquel's initial storm, slow the pace, and methodically pick apart the knee that had already been compromised. She targeted the leg relentlessly, twisting, stomping, and stretching it, knowing full well that if Raquel couldn't plant her feet properly, her power would diminish drastically. Yet Raquel fought with grit, throwing RHEA into barricades, slamming her against steel, and keeping herself alive through sheer toughness. The ebb and flow of the contest saw momentum swing violently. Both women delivered haymakers, forearms, and boots, colliding in the center of the ring in brutal exchanges that left the crowd on its feet. At one point, both went down from a simultaneous clothesline, lying motionless as the referee began a count, the audience roaring in anticipation of who would rise first. Raquel showed flashes of brilliance, hitting a back body drop, smashing Ripley with power moves, and coming agonizingly close to victory with covers that had the crowd gasping at 2 3/4. Ripley, though, refused to stay down, kicking out again and again, even as her eyes glazed and her body shook from the punishment. She dug deep, responding with a Northern Lights suplex and later a devastating frog splash as a tribute to Eddie Guerrero, nearly sealing the match until Raquel kicked out defiantly. The champion grew more frustrated, pounding away, trying to finish Raquel, but the challenger continued to rise, fueled by sheer determination and pride. The match stretched into exhaustion territory, both competitors drained, sweat-drenched, and battered, yet neither willing to quit. Just when it seemed Raquel might finally overcome the mountain in front of her, disaster struck. After slamming Ripley onto the announce table and the apron, Raquel had momentum, the crowd behind her, and the champion on the brink. But then, out of nowhere, the landscape of the women's division shifted violently as Nia Jax made her shocking return. The former women's champion stormed into the scene, blindsiding Raquel Rodriguez with devastating force. Her sudden reappearance stunned the arena, commentary exploding in disbelief. Jax's interference allowed Ripley to hit a riptide and cover Raquel for the 3 count, retaining her championship in controversial fashion. Yet the story didn't end there. Nia Jax wasn't satisfied with simply costing Raquel the match. She turned her fury on RHEA Ripley herself, headbutting the champion and laughing as she dismantled everything in her path. Delivering a massive leg drop and crushing Ripley with a splash from the second rope, Nia left both challenger and champion wrecked in the ring. As Raw went off the air, one thing was clear. The return of Nia Jax had thrown the entire women's division into chaos.